The gaze. They stare, sometimes with sadness, pity, others with revulsion, fear, always with questions. How did this happen? Does it hurt? Is it getting better? Is it getting worse? And most importantly, could it happen to me or anyone that I care about? They want the story. So here's my story, told with my pictures. 1985, Sanford, Maine. In one of my earliest memories, I'm getting out of the car to go shopping with my mom at Kmart, and I am so excited. It is the only store with toys within 40 minutes of my house. I stand, peeling my legs from the vinyl front seat. It's summer, and it's hot. And if our car ever had air conditioning, it doesn't anymore. Today, I feel proud of how I look. I'm not wearing the usual androgynous overalls that dominated my childhood wardrobe, because my mom thought their baggy fit and undefined waist concealed my irregular gait. But it's finally too hot for them. So instead, I have on little white shorts with bows on the side and a pink Minnie Mouse tank top that my aunt bought me. My hair is pulled up in pink elastic bands, and I feel pretty, airy. So I'm walking a bit straighter, more confident than usual. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a mother and her daughter. They're staring at me. The mother tells the little girl to look away. Her eyes drop. Don't look at her. She can't help how she looks. I'm close enough to the store that I can see my reflection in the glass door. My body is thin and tan from hours of swimming in the river behind my house. I see my deep-set dark eyes, my average nondescript Lafredo nose that my father says is preferable to both the Tomasi and the Malio noses in this family. My dark brown hair reflects the sun. I also see what that mother and her daughter see. I'm hunched forward to balance on my turned-in feet. Blue scars snake up my calves. It's now that I realize the operation didn't fix me. The doctor slicing into my calves, snipping my tendons to drop my heels to the floor, did mean I no longer walk on my toes, and I don't need those big white braces or the socks that reduce the chafing. I was so excited to be rid of them. But now I realize the operation, the full leg casts, followed by walking casts, followed by months of physical therapy, haven't changed how I walk enough for anybody to notice my cute outfit before they notice my gait. I'm 4, and I'm so aware of my body, how it feels to live my identity through it, how culture responds to it. I'm just so very, very aware. Storytelling is visceral. We feel a moment with a sink, a flutter, a punch, a swell. We section it off to remember in the embodied telling and retelling. 1992, Boston, Massachusetts. I'm screaming, hysterical, tied down with nylon bands. The nylon bands are soft but strong. I can't stretch beyond their 3-inch length. Yesterday, the doctors performed a bone rotation. They sliced into the thigh, peeling back the skin and prying the muscles to the side so they could reach the femur bone, which they sawed in half, rotated 30 degrees, and nailed back together again. The last thing I remember, it's the strawberries. They told me I could choose bananas, blueberries, or strawberries, and I chose strawberries, and I counted backwards. 25, 24, 23, so happy that this was the operation that was gonna fix me. I was going to walk straight. Somehow, during the night, the epidural that was numbing the pain fell out. I'm 12, and I'm small for my age, and to go back to the necessary amount of painkillers could cause my body to go into shock. So instead, they tie me down so I can ride the pain without disturbing my legs and traction until the lesser painkillers take effect. Normally, I barely notice the involuntary spasms that my brain sends to my body over and over again, telling my muscles to tighten. Well, until finally, there's a dull ache in my toes that sloshes up my calves. But right now, with both of my bones sawed in half, every involuntary movement is excruciating. A woman is coming in. She has a series of pictures of faces, from a big smiley face to one that's crying with its mouth open. My mom and dad signed me up for a study on kids' pain during surgery. She wants me to choose one of the faces, but I can't. It hurts too much. I can't talk. My brother Brad is with me while my mom and dad go get lunch. He tries to help. I think it's that one. He points to the one that's crying with its mouth open, the one like me. You can't choose. She has to choose. We can't count her in the study unless she chooses. Eventually, I fall asleep. The lesser painkillers build up to bring the pain to just an angry murmur. As I tell that story, my toes curl. My body remembers the pain. That was the worst pain I've ever felt. So storytelling is collaborative. Tellers and audiences working together, swapping roles in a messy meaning-making. The story continues. 2013, Wilmington, North Carolina. We just arrived at the hospital about an hour ago. Before that, the dull pain in my back increased in intensity enough that I finally woke up my husband, Evan, and we cradled a sleepy toddler to the car to drop him off at a friend's house before heading to the hospital. This is my second baby, and I deliver really quickly, so quickly that I don't use any painkillers during childbirth. I actually find the breaks that I get between contractions makes childbirth pretty manageable. Well, way more manageable than that operation that I had when I was 12. Besides, I don't believe in epidurals. They just fall out. It took about 5 minutes for me to finally agree to letting them insert this IV into my wrist. It's dripping some sort of liquid that burns, even though the nurse says it doesn't. There's no use arguing with her. It's procedure. I'll get them to take it out once Vinny gets here. As we enter the dimly lit delivery room, I see the labor tub filling with water, and I wonder if I'll get to use it. This hospital only allows water labors, not water births, and I have a feeling that Vinny's coming soon. Way too soon for me to get into that tub. I'm right. A warm liquid runs down my leg. I grip onto the bed and sit down. My water broke. You need to get the nurse. All right, I'll call her. He hits the intercom. It awakens with static. Her water just broke. We think it's time. All right, we're on our way. The nurse doesn't sound very excited. Well, childbirth probably isn't that exciting when it happens 10 times a shift. But that's okay, because I'm excited enough for the both of us. I'm ready to meet Vinny. The nurse comes in. She's young, maybe 25, with tired eyes and a drawn face. She looks between my legs. Yeah, you are ready. His head is right there. You are gonna love his hair, dark and thick, just like yours. I smile. She sees a lot of babies, but not all of them have hair like mine. The doctor comes in. She's followed by another nurse. That is my least favorite doctor in the practice. She never listens to anything I have to say. She just always says, you've got the blood pressure of an athlete and you're in such great shape. Childbirth's gonna go smoothly. Still, I'm really not that disappointed that she's here. Really, natural childbirth doesn't leave a lot of time for chit chat anyway. Okay, listen, I'm gonna need you to get on your back and scoot to the end of the bed and open your legs wider. I can't open my legs any wider. That's as wide as they go. I have cerebral palsy. I wasn't expecting to have this conversation. Dr. Novosel, the doctor who delivered my first baby, she told me that she could catch a baby from any direction just to get comfortable. This doctor, who shall remain nameless, seems to be more about protocol. I make a mental note that I'm gonna have my follow-up appointment with Dr. Novosel. A contraction comes. Nurses, pull her legs apart, please. No, doc! The spasms racking through my legs mixes with the contraction, and I can't push, I can't speak, I can't even breathe. It hurts too much. You are going to need to actually push when contractions come if you are ever gonna have this baby. Well, if you keep holding my legs like that, I can't. I realize I'm holding my breath. And I breathe, because my baby, my Vinny, he needs my air. I try to remember that this doctor is not a neurologist, and she's not an orthopedic surgeon. She knows nothing about cerebral palsy. Also, the nurse's eyes got wide when my legs spasmed. I think it's gonna be okay. A contraction comes. There's one, another, and another. And Vinny's here. They put him on my chest, and he's warm and wet and slippery, but I can't really focus on him because I'm not finished yet. I feel the pressure as the doctor pulls on the placenta. It's warm, wet, squishy. It's out. I'm finished. With Tony, with my first baby, once I delivered the placenta, I was finished. You're gonna need to really brace her legs this time so I can put some stitches in. No, don't. My spasming legs mixes with the sting of her needle and the dull ache of my organs going back into place after delivering 7 pounds, 11 ounces of baby, and the placenta that nourished him until now. Vinny's crying, but I can't comfort him yet. I'm still inside my body. He's just not in this story yet. Storytelling is susceptible, forever open to change. All that is done can be undone and redone. There is hope in the revisions. 1994, Wells, Maine. I just arrived to high school. It's my first day. This high school is made up of 3 towns, and mine is the smallest and the furthest away. When I was in first grade, my teacher, Mrs. Pettigrew, she thought I walked weird. She thought I wrote weird. She thought I was weird. So she sent me to the special education room for multiple hours a day, where they just had me sit by myself and do my work because my needs weren't really all that special. I ended up a whole grade ahead, and my small country K-8 school decided at the end of 7th grade that I was ready for high school. So here I am, a year early. A combination of physical and water therapy finally has me walking without crutches or a walker. My knees and ankles still are stiff. They don't bend very well, but my feet face straight, and so my back is too. My scars are hidden under my new flared jeans. Out of the corner of my eye, I see 3 boys. They're leaning up against the wall by the soda machine. They're nudging each other and laughing. My face gets hot. It's the Kmart parking lot all over again. This operation didn't work either. One of them's coming over. He's tall, with wavy black hair and blue eyes. He smells like a mixture of cigarettes and laundry detergent. I don't really mind the combination.
Hey, I'm Shane. You're new.
Yeah, my name's Julie-Ann. I'm from Acton. There's not many of us.
Well, Julie-Ann from Acton, where are you going?
My first class is freshman literature.
Well, you are in luck because I know right where that is. Come on, I'll show you.
Okay.
Hey, did you hurt yourself? Did you pull a muscle at practice?
No, I don't practice anything. I do physical therapy. I have cerebral palsy. It makes me walk weird.
Not that weird. I thought you pulled a muscle in practice, or maybe hurt yourself working out. You look like you work out. You look great, by the way.
Thanks.
Come on, I'll show you where that room is.
Okay.
So Shane was my first boyfriend.
It didn't last long, but it was a new beginning. From that moment on, I had people who wanted to get to know me. Boys wanted to date me. My limp was still noticeable, but sometimes mistaken for temporary. I became more confident. I joined theater. I found out that I love the stage. The stage. When I first did this performance, an earlier version of it, people came up to me and asked if I would consider moving more my limping, gimping body up here on the stage, resurrecting a politically correct freak show. It made me uncomfortable. But all right, I'll walk and you can watch. But also listen. because my body has a message for yours. In 2007, Honeybrook, Pennsylvania. I'm standing next to Evan, who has been my fiance for a little over a month. His grandma Mary is holding onto his arm, and his sister Rachel is a few feet ahead of us. We just finished Thanksgiving dinner in an assisted living facility. The turkey, the vegetables, the potatoes, and the pie were all better than I thought they would be. The room's also prettier than I anticipated, with plush patterned carpets and vaulted ceilings with chandelier. As we get to the entrance, Mary lets go of Evan's arm and grabs onto her walker with oxygen tank attached that she left by the sign that says no wheelchairs or walkers in the dining room. Mary is thick and broad, with a raspy voice from years of smoking followed by emphysema. Let's go back up to my apartment. We follow her to the elevator. Evan told me before I met Mary that she cared about appearance a lot more than his no-nonsense farm family from Kansas. So I dressed up for dinner. I have on a chocolate cashmere sweater, a camel pencil skirt, my hair's blown dry in waves. I have more makeup than I ever wear, and I even have on these high-heeled boots. The toes are pointed, and my toes can't really spasm against the stiff leather, but they look so nice with this skirt. It's really a different kind of outfit than what I would have worn to my sister's farmhouse in rural Maine. Looking at Mary, I realized that Evan's assessment is probably correct. She has on a silk blouse and blue tweed suit and a brooch with lots of different jewels in it. She has her dyed brown curls perfectly set. As we get off of the elevator, Evan and I hang back a bit to give Mary and Rachel some time to talk before we head back to the local Holiday Inn for the night. Ev, do you think that Mary likes me? I'm having a really hard time reading her. Of course she likes you. You complimented her apartment, you listened to all of her stories and asked great questions, you even laughed at all of her jokes. She loves you, just like everyone loves you. Well, from that, at least I know that you like me. Do you know why they won't let any wheelchairs or walkers in the dining room? Well, Mary will tell you it's to keep all the old sick people out. But I like to think it's just so people don't trip on them or something. I hope that's it. I mean, bodies break down, and that shouldn't keep them out of beautiful places, especially in an assisted living facility. As we get near the apartment, they've left the door open and we can hear Mary and Rachel talking. Is Evan worried about what people are gonna think when they see who he's marrying? They think it's gonna hurt his job prospects that he's marrying a cripple? I don't know, Grandma Mary. He's never mentioned it, and no one at the university that we work with has either. Well, in this day and age, they don't mention it. They just think it. We walk in and Mary makes eye contact with me. She knows that I heard her, but she doesn't look apologetic or embarrassed. Rachel looks worried, though. She hasn't known me long. She's not sure how I'm going to react. But I just smile. Mary is old and sick. She doesn't need to die in a conversation about ableism with me on Thanksgiving. Ableism, the unabashed rejection of my disabled body. Parents beam with pride. Oh, we don't care. You know, as long as it's healthy. You mean as long as it's not me. It's okay to not want me. Ableism is pervasive, but it can be dismantled. (2012), Wilmington, North Carolina. It's been 2 years since Evan and I moved down the East Coast from Maine to North Carolina for me to take a job at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. We've put off getting our in-state licenses until now. My little white Nissan was insured with my brother's insurance company in Maine, and we just wanted to leave everything with him rather than get a new insurance agent. Well, with all the changes we've had, new state, new degrees, new job, new baby, new house. But now we finally need a new car. And the gold RAV4 that we've chosen because it easily seats us, our baby, and our dog for long trips back to Maine and to Kansas can only be tagged and insured if we have in-state licenses. So we both study for and pass the required written exam. We stand and pose for our new license photos. And as the man hands me my temporary license, I remember, oh, do you have the applications for handicap placards here? Do I pick that up at this office or is it another office? Why do you need that? I have cerebral palsy. I know sometimes people don't even notice it, but I limp, and when I have a lot of things in my hands, I sometimes can fall, so I have a handicap placard so I can pack close to places. That was way more information than he needs. I know that. But I sometimes worry that people will think that I'm more disabled than I actually am when they hear my diagnosis, or that they will think that I'm making it up, that I'm faking it so I can get a good parking spot. The man comes back. We are going to need to do a road test. A road test? It's procedure. A road test is procedure for someone you've already given a license to? Driving is a privilege, not a right, and we reserve the right to test the disabled at any time. It's for safety reasons. Okay. I'm angry and I'm nervous. I'm angry that even though Evan and I have the exact same licenses from the exact same state, I have to take a road test and he doesn't. I'm also worried. What if I fail this road test? I shouldn't even have to take in the first place. My whole body is shaking throughout the entire test. It has nothing to do with cerebral palsy. I'm just so nervous and so angry. My 3-point turn was kind of jerky, but I pass. I'm so glad that's over. Until I get a letter from the state of North Carolina 3 weeks later. It tells me I have to travel 3 hours to take a combined physical and road test at this facility that isn't covered by my insurance. After 2 hours, I finally get someone on the phone with the authority to move the test to my local DMV and doctor. So I make an appointment with my physician. He's super happy to see me because most of his patients are elderly. But since he's right by the university and Evan and I can usually get in the same day, we have him as our primary physician. My assessment, you have better coordination, physical ability, and flexibility than I do. I feel safe with you on the road. I go back to the DMV to retake my road test, and I do wonderful.
even my 3-point turn was perfect. I think it's over. Until a letter arrives from the state of North Carolina 3 weeks later, telling me I still have to travel to take that combined physical and road test at that facility 3 hours away. So I call, and the first person on the phone looks up my application. Excuse me, but it says right here that you have cerebral palsy, but there is nothing on here about an assistive device, to make driving safe for you. I don't know, like handheld brakes or something. I do have cerebral palsy, but I ski black diamonds, I road bike, I'm an excellent swimmer, and I do not need handheld brakes to drive. I hang up, and I call a civil rights attorney, and he writes a letter. 3 weeks later, another letter comes from the state of North Carolina. This time, my license is enclosed. They tell me I will not be hearing from them again. I make jokes about the whole situation on Facebook, but really, I'm sad and worried for the person that might not have known it was time to call a civil rights attorney or wouldn't have had the resources to do that, even if they did know. Mortality, the inescapable changes of this mortal flesh that we're in. All we were, all we are, and all that we will be will break down and will disappear. 2019, Wilmington, North Carolina. I'm moving through Target as I usually do, my 6-month-old on one hip, my 3-year-old on my other hip. Neither of them will ride in the cart, my 5-year-old weighing me down, and my 7-year-old bumping into me every few feet. I'm at the after Christmas sales rack, trying to decide if I can predict the size of each of these boys at this time next year to get an amazing deal on matching gingerbread long sleeve t-shirts when I hear a voice. You are never gonna heal if you don't just put those boys down. I'm not hurt. I have cerebral palsy. Oh, well, I thought all these children were yours. They are. Oh, no. I thought you gave birth to them. I did. Oh, well, are people like you usually fertile? Yeah. Cerebral palsy doesn't impact fertility. But aren't you worried about leaving these poor boys without a mother? Cerebral palsy also doesn't impact life expectancy. But just so you know, questioning a stranger that you met at the after Christmas sale at Target about their family planning and their mortality feels a bit invasive. Marginalization. The reality that some bodies are confined to the slippery edge of culture, denied the opportunities that the dominant take for granted. Bodies that are the fleshed reminders of rejection. You see, invisible needs visible. Normal needs abnormal. The center needs the margins to exist. Without me,
Who are you? 2006, Orono, Maine. I'm late to class. It's feminist theory, my once-a-week graduate seminar, and the only seat left is next to my professor, Naomi, which is totally fine, because I really like Naomi. She's so smart and thoughtful, and I really like feminist theory. I look forward to it all week. Well, except this week. Every graduate student in the class has to take a turn leading the discussion. And it's my turn. And it's on the relationship between the disability rights movement and the women's rights movement. I didn't have to pick this week, but everyone thought I would. So I just did. Julie-Ann, are you ready to start? Yeah, Naomi, I'm definitely ready. Okay, so everyone, the first thing I think we need to talk about before we begin this discussion is how disabled people were. Julie-Ann, do you mean people with disabilities? No. Actually, I don't mean that at all, Naomi. I really hate person-first language. I'm not a person with femaleness. I'm a female person. I'm not a person with whiteness. I'm a white person. I'm not a person with straightness. I'm a straight person. I'm also a disabled person. It's just another identity marker for me. And I feel if we change how we do adjectives in the English language to talk about it, it just reinforces in people's mind how marginalized I am and how uncomfortable they are with my body. Well, what about differently abled? Would that be an option? Well, I guess it's an option, but I don't think it's a good option because it minimizes the reality of being disabled. The root of that idea is that we all have bodies with different abilities and we're all differently abled, so it's somehow more inclusive, but I find it so problematic. For me, it would be kind of like if we were to say that being of color means that we all are because we all have pigment in our skin, or that because the human race began in Africa, we're all African. And I no way want to equate race with disability because it's very different experiences with very different histories. But I hope you can understand where I'm going with this. It's the idea that it minimizes the reality of bodies categorized in these different groups. Just so you know, you're sounding kind of angry and defensive, and it's making this conversation really hard to have. Ugh, it's her, the student that is always worried about how everyone is sounding, even if there's just a little bit of urgency to discussion. And honestly, how do we fight for justice without a little bit of urgency? Julie-Ann may be angry, she may be defensive, but what I can tell you is that Julie-Ann is tired. Like every person sitting around this table that is not white, that is not able-bodied, that is not middle class, that is not straight, is tired. And maybe if you were worried about why Julie-Ann is so defensive or angry or tired, instead of how her tone is making you feel, we could finally make some progress in some of these class discussions we're having. Thanks, Paula. Paula is the only Black student in this class. She's not disabled, and I'm not Black. But we're both really committed to being allies. And next week, when Paula is leading the discussion on the civil rights movement and the women's rights movement, I'll be here to be supportive in any way that I can be. Allies. The commitment to fighting the injustice of our culture, to breaking down the systems of oppression, even if we benefit from them some of the time, or all of the time. It's messy and frustrating and at times uncomfortable. But I hope you'll join us, because we need you. 2020, Wilmington, North Carolina. Theo is finally asleep. It takes so long. 2 months ago, we entered COVID lockdown, and with that, his schedule disappeared. And without his brothers and Evan and I coming and going, he lost all sense of time and any desire to sleep. Naps disappeared first, followed by his nap time getting later and later. Bedtime didn't have a set hour anymore. I stopped fighting it. I'm sore and I'm tired. So we fall asleep rocking each night, watching This Is Us on Hulu. It's really difficult to have cerebral palsy during COVID. Normally, as a professor, I walk to lecture. I walk to direct my students' performances, and my muscles stay limber. I stay mobile. But now, I sit. I sit to self-record Zoom lectures. I sit to create assignments. I sit to Zoom with my students. And I sit to grade. There's so many more assignments and so much more grading in online teaching. I look over at Evan. He's lying across our couch, his back on the 2 cushions and his leg over the side. I remember back to when we were given that leather couch, when there was just 2 of us and 2 cushions were plenty. Ev, are you okay? My back hurts. Yeah, I know. I noticed when Evan reached for the spaghetti seasoning at dinner, we always put Costco spaghetti seasoning in our homemade sauce for pizza night, that he winced. Evan is a lot like his father. He has his father's quiet, patient, sensitive disposition. He has his father's broad shoulders. He has his father's very defined nose and less defined chin. He also has his father's back. When his dad was about his age, he got injured and had to give up industrial farming. Ev, I really think you should go see a doctor. I will. Let's just wait till COVID's over. No point in risking exposure. It can wait. Okay. Theo is getting so heavy on my hips. He's in a deep sleep. Normally, I would ask Evan to lift him off me and carry him to bed, but Evan's as sore as I am. So I try to stand up, but I stumble. Theo opens his eyes and smiles. He's not asleep. So I sit back down and put on another episode of This Is Us and wonder, with 2 disabled bodies in this house, who's going to shoulder the load? As that story ended, I wonder if it made you nervous. For me, for Evan. Neither of us are nervous. We're just thinking and we're planning. You see, people constantly remind me that mortal bodies change. They're so fixated on my ability and how over time I may become less mobile, less able. And because I'm always reminded of it, even though I'm no more mortal than they are, I'm much more at ease with my mortality. I consider myself to be hyper-embodied. And as I say that, you might know some of the negative connotations of that term. It can be applied to someone with anorexia that is fixated on calorie content, on a bodybuilder obsessed with perfect symmetry, of a doctor so focused on diagnosing their patient, they forgot to treat the person. But I disagree, because by being hyper-embodied and at ease with these mortal bodies that we're in, we can plan for all of those inevitable changes instead of fearing and ignoring them. And if we, as a society, were all to become hyper-embodied, we could create a culture that flexes around these mortal, inevitably changing bodies that we're in, so we could be valued and included as long as our bodies are here. And I think in that hyper-embodied culture, as the fear of mortality went away, people wouldn't feel the need to instead pile all of that fear onto bodies like mine. Hyper-embodied, too fixated, too obsessed, too focused. Well, that's all nonsense. I'm enlightened. You can be too. Thank you.